Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pittsburgh Public Schools Policy Workshop. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. My name is Jamie Petrosky, and I am chair of the Policy Committee. Tonight, we are reviewing a new policy that is ready for consideration by the board, which is private sponsorship of student activities, which will become Policy 802.1. We have Miss Elizabeth Sattler, I'm an attorney with WBK Legal, who will lead tonight's policy workshop. So I will hand it over to Miss Sattler.
Thank you, Jamie. Good evening, everybody. This policy is a new proposed policy that was brought to the committee by certain members of the community, and and we've worked to create it by allowing private sponsorship of student activities. Too many, sorry. The new, as Ms. Petrosky said, it's new proposed policy 802.1, private sponsorship of student activities. For reference, policy 802 is the gifts, grants, and donations policy. So this would fall as passed as 802.1. This is a new policy, and the purpose of it involves the following. The district recognizes the public school facilities and events may provide a potential opportunity for private sponsorship. This policy would allow a sponsor to receive recognition in exchange for financial support of a student activity. The policy provides guidelines for permitting sponsorship of student activities in a manner that also supports the district's mission and protects the interests of the students and personnel. There are some important definitions within this policy. The first one is the private sponsorship agreement. This is a transaction in which a private entity would offer goods, services, or funds to an individual school or to the district as a whole to support a student activity, and in return would receive recognition of that entity's name or image. Student activity or student activities are defined as school-sponsored extracurricular activities, including both student competition, both interscholastic and competition with other districts, as well as non-competitive activities, including but not limited to theater productions, musical performances, art installations. Finally, there is a definition for a district sponsorship review committee, which is an administrative team which would review and approve or deny the sponsorship application. This shall be comprised of no more than 7 members, with the following members at a minimum: at least 2 community members, one of whom must be a parent of a current student in the district, the chief financial officer in his or her designee, the district athletic director in his or her designee, the chief operating officer in his or her designee. And the superintendent shall nominate those members not specifically included by title to this committee. The procedure under the guidelines would be as follows. Building principals and athletic directors may submit a proposed private sponsorship agreement to the district sponsorship committee. There will be administration regulations published detailing the application process. The policy does include a bare minimum of what should be involved, but it would be likely fleshed out in the administrative regulations. But at a bare minimum, the name and address of the private entity, the sponsorship amount offered, and the type of recognition requested must be included. If the review committee shall approve or deny the application, the decision will be made via a written letter or email to the requesting building principal or athletic director. Any denial may be appealed to the superintendent. All contracts for sponsorship shall adhere to district policies and regulations governing contract execution. No contracts may include a requirement that an individual school, its students, or employees sell a sponsor's goods. And no contract for sponsorship for an athletic activity that is governed by the PIAA may require the inclusion of the entity's logo, name, or other image on any school district uniform or apparel. And that is following a rule from the PIAA. With respect to authority to approve or, to enter into these agreements, a school principal or athletic director may contract for sponsorships not extending beyond 1 year and or up to $1,000 in annual value. And then the superintendent may contract for sponsorships exceeding $1,000 in value and shall advise the board of all contracts at its next legislative meeting. The proposed benefits from this policy would flow as follows. Benefits derived from a school-specific sponsorship shall benefit that individual school. Benefits derived from a district-wide sponsorship shall be distributed by the superintendent. On this slide, this lists all of the restrictions, and no contract shall include any content that includes any of the following: a promotion or inciting acts of hostility, disorder, or violence, containing an attack on an ethnic, racial, or religious group, discriminating against a protected group, promoting the use of controlled substances, illegal drugs, alcohol, tobacco, electronic cigarettes, or firearms, promoting sexual, obscene, or pornographic activities, violating or promoting the violation of any federal, state, local law, or district policy, promoting favoritism for or in opposition to any political candidate or candidacy, or any public questions submitted at any general, county, municipal, or school election. It shall not create or be likely to create a substantial disruption in the school environment or inhibit the function of any school within the district. It may not contain content or promote a product or service that is detrimental to the well-being of district students, reflects negatively upon the district, or is inconsistent with the established goals and purposes of the Pittsburgh Public Schools. It may not contain false, misleading, or deceptive statements or information. And that is it. This is a relatively short policy. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Sattler. I see Ms. Yord has her hand raised, so please take it away.
Thank you. I did join late, so apologies if you answered this question at the beginning. This is a new policy that we're proposing, or this is a existing policy that we're editing?
The policy would be, the number is 802.1. I'm not sure if you heard it. I said policy 802 is the gift, grants, and donations policy.
Okay.
802.1 would be a proper new policy. The district does not have current sponsorship policy.
Gotcha. And what was the impetus for wanting to draft this sponsorship policy?
I believe that, and I know for a fact that some of the board members were approached by who I guess knew of this happening in others that were looking for it. And we actually had students policy committee meetings to explain what they were looking for.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying.
Ms. Sattler, I can provide some clarification as well. Ms. Yord, a few years back, and this is prior to myself being on the board, there was a resolution, I think this was in maybe 2017 or something, but basically something about the Pittsburgh Marathon and sponsorship issue, and I'm not entirely clear on it, but basically what I had gathered from it is that then organizations kind of didn't want to approach Pittsburgh Public Schools with sponsorship opportunities. And so just because, there weren't any guidelines, and the board at the time had issued this resolution of, whatever issue they had at the time. And so this is a way to clarify that process and allow for private entities to approach the district, or for principals, school administrators to approach private entities for sponsorship activities if they choose to. Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah. Thanks.
I don't know the full history since I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But there just seemed to be I don't want to work with PPS because it's not clear kind of thing. So we're clearing up that process to help.
That's as good of a reason as any. I appreciate the background. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from board members online? We're all online, but. Okay. All right, well, seeing none, again, clarifying our process. So now that this policy has gone through workshop, there is a 30-day public comment and review period. So of course, members of the public, board members, please, share any thoughts and comments you have about the policy with the policy committee, so that we can take, those thoughts and possible edits into consideration before it appears to the board next month at our May legislative meeting. And so I will do one last call for any questions or comments. Okay, seeing none. So I want to thank my fellow members of the policy committee, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Silk, for working on this with us, and then members of the administration, of course, Dr. Walters and Chief Lamar, Chief Blackwell, and of course, Ms. Sattler, for helping put this together. So with that short meeting today, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.